Maul Shadow Lord Season 1, Chapter 3 and 4 are out. Well, I think it's going well. I feel like next episode is going to be something great, or at least the next pair of episodes. Yeah, I really do feel like this show is really just 5 episodes, where each episode has been split in half. I don't know. It is what it is. Anyways, episode 3, or chapter 3 as it's called, starts with Devon's escape, rather, not Maul. She then gets directed to go say hi to Maul by Rookcast, because, clearly her escape was definitely not planned by Maul. That was fairly obvious. I don't know why she seemed to think it might not have been. Anyways, she goes in there where Maul is preparing some tea for them to drink. And he starts the conversation off by saying, "You know my name, but I don't know yours. Do you mind telling me?" And then a whole episode later, the episode ends with Maul taking back his lightsaber from her and saying, "I'll be needing that back, Devon." Which is so perfect. I love that, because she never tells him her name. And so clearly he's ripped it from her mind somehow while he was taunting her, making her all fearful, making her angry as she goes and try and dip into the dark side of the Force, which is what Maul is trying to do with her. Maul is trying to make her fall, and he's doing quite a good job, I feel. As she's getting afraid, she's getting angry in the pit. Then when she does climb up to the top and they have a lightsaber duel, she starts getting angrier and angrier throughout the fight, and eventually she lashes out at him. And during the fight, Maul's always got his left hand behind his back, as if he's fighting with a hand tied behind his back. And the only time that hand comes out is after Devon lashes out at him in anger. He slides across the floor. He pulls out his hand to slow him down. As if to say, now she's gone angry, now she has power, now he needs to actually put a modicum of effort into this. Because, of course, throughout the entire fight, Maul is very clearly just taunting her and teasing her. He could easily have beaten her, he just didn't feel the need to. Or rather, he didn't want to. And that whole scene as Maul's just talking to her, just explaining who he is, how his brother was murdered, how his mother was murdered. Hey, I think, is that the first time Savage has been mentioned in this show? I think it might have been. We were told that Savage would be mentioned more than this, or at least Maul would be reflecting on Savage, which he hasn't done yet. I want Maul to reflect on Savage, please. This is the perfect time to do so, as he's recruiting a new apprentice. He's trying to see where he went wrong with Savage, but maybe they're not going to do that. Well, I do wish that he had more reflection on Savage in this show. I don't know where it would go. That's kind of the problem. It's very fast paced. There's not really time for him to reflect upon the death of Savage and what that should mean to him. But that's a conversation for another time. What does happen, though, is while Maul is taunting Devon, we follow Officer Lawman as he's going around trying to be a good dad, but he really sucks at being a good dad. He goes to his son's lacrosse game. Right, lacrosse? I think that's what it's called. Yeah, I don't know why. He just looks like he's playing lacrosse. I'm pretty sure it's lacrosse. It doesn't look like it's a fancy Star Wars sci-fi sport. It just looks like he's got a lacrosse lacrosse. I don't know what they're called. Stick. And I don't know. Anyways, yeah, so he goes to his son's lacrosse game and doesn't see his son score a goal because he's distracted talking to the Jedi Master. And then he runs away as his son turns to look back at him and sees that he's not there after his son scored a goal. Very sad. Boo-hoo. No one really cares. I don't know. I feel like they're trying to build something with Officer Lawman, but they just haven't gotten anything. There's nothing there to chew on yet. Even in the next episode, he does a bit of interest. There's a bit of stuff there. Like, he seems to have like one really actually interesting thing about him, which is he doesn't want to call in the Empire, which, I'm jumping ahead of myself a bit here, is why Maul did not kill him when he was raiding the police precinct, because Maul sensed that he was not the kind of person who would just go out and call the Empire down on him. So he wanted Officer Lawman to be there, to be with him, to be the one in charge, to not call down the Empire, which of course fails because Officer Lawman doesn't talk to Two Boots, and then he does talk to Two Boots, but he doesn't explain to Two Boots why he doesn't want the Empire down, and everyone just thinks, oh, you don't want to talk to your ex, so therefore you're not going to call, that's why you're not calling in the Empire. So Two Boots eventually calls in the Empire, and that's where the episode is going to end. Well, the next episode is going to end. This episode, we just get a bit of a small fight between some of Vario's gangsters, the Pikes, the officers, and then Maul's crew show up. And Maul's crew blows up some money to send a message to Krim. So then Vario can get sent off to meet him in the next episode. Yeah, like the first episode here, there's just not much to it, the B-plot at all. It is certainly present. The fourth episode, though, is much more interesting, I feel. Because that one starts with Vario going off to say hi to Mod Krim. And then he gives him a bunch of money. But he then goes, hey, Maul's here. And then we see a hooded Zabrak jump down with a lightsaber, carving up the Pikes before Vario shoots him in the back with a stun gun. Which, I'm actually reflecting on this. I'm not sure if that was part of Maul's plan, is that this guy was not, or that Vario was trying to pacify him. I think it might have been, because that got them to the Pikes, to the Pike leader. In fairness, Maul could probably just carve his way through to there. I don't know. He doesn't really, like, he lets Vario live just fine, which doesn't feel like something he would do if Vario had actually betrayed him there. I'm not entirely sure what use Vario will be to Maul anymore. Like, the reason Vario was able to bargain for his life at all was that he would bring him Mod Krim. And, well, Mod Krim is dead now, so, I mean, that's not very useful to Maul anymore. So I feel like that must have been part of Maul's plan. Especially given he did send in the fake guy ahead of him. And so I just feel like that was part of it. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, so Maul then goes in, and then he carves up the Pikes. One thing that I don't like about it, though, is he just instant kills the Mod Krim with the lightsaber as he ignites and drags it towards him, which was admittedly cool, but I feel like he should have not killed Mod Krim there. He should have just let Mod Krim suffer there and die out, at least long enough for Maul to deliver his speech about how you don't betray me before he then stabs Mod Krim in the face with his lightsaber or something along those lines. Like, this show has been shown to be willing to do murder and brutal executions. Like, at the end of episode 2, Maul, I think it's the end, near the end of episode 2 at least, Maul forces down a Pike onto his lightsaber in a clear execution. We're allowed to have brutal stuff in the show, clearly, so it's not about age ratings or anything like that. It was clearly an intentional decision to, like, a creative decision to have Maul instantly kill him. But it does not meet up with Maul's character at this point. Like, Maul wants to make people suffer. And Mod Krim took advantage of Maul when Maul was at his weakest. Maul had set up the Pikes to be a force in the new Empire, in the age of the Empire, post Siege of Mandalore. Then, because Siege of Mandalore did not go Maul's way, the Pikes took advantage of him and basically cut him out of his own plans. Which, okay, that's all great. I like that. But then Maul goes and gets his revenge. Again, great. Maul likes his revenge. But then he just insta-kills the Pike Leader. And replace him with the Captain of the Guard, which is ironically what he also did to the Black Sun in the Clone Wars. But it's just, why doesn't he make the Pike Leader suffer for betraying him? He gives a speech about saying, like, people who betray me will fail. Everyone tries to betray me, but they fail to do so. He clearly does not like Mod Trim. Why does he want to make Mod Trim suffer? At least for like the couple minutes while he gives that speech. Tells Mod Trim, you fucked up. But no, he doesn't. He just executes Mod Trim, and that's that. Yeah, maybe. I'm just getting a bit annoyed about nothing there, but then the rest of the episode involves, well, Devon escaped at the end of the last episode. And she then tells the officers where to go find Maul, so they go find Maul. And Captain Lawman shuts down Two Boots. Because, well, Two Boots is controlling the Empire. And they send in a tiny team, despite the fact they could have just waited like 10 minutes and assembled a team more than triple the size to go in, which I feel like would have been smart, rather than losing your entire first team, or at least injuring them all. Like, go in with a much bigger team in basically the same time. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. Anyways, as he goes in, then Maul tells him that basically, we can have an agreement. You don't come after me, and I won't come after you, and the Empire won't come after either of us. But then the officer does not agree with that because he doesn't like crime. Even if he doesn't like the Empire, he thinks he can handle Maul. He's wrong. And then they go in, and they have the Mandalorians all ambush him and take out his entire crew, except for leaving just him. And then they all get shot up, and meanwhile Maul fights off against Devon and her master, Daki, that's his name. And they offer him like the chance to turn himself in. He of course refuses, because why would he do that? And then during the fight, we see he's once again employing the same sort of tricks he uses whenever he's fighting two opponents. He tries to separate them and then beat down on one. And well, this time, of course, he's not actively trying to kill either of them, because he thinks they can be useful to help him against the Empire in the future. However, once Daki gets a solid kick on him into his leg, Maul goes full rage mode and starts pushing Daki back, cutting up the building around him. Daki's just needs to retreat. And eventually Daki falls down, and Maul prepares to jump down and execute him. But Devon jumps in the way, and Maul does not want to kill Devon because he senses the anger within her. He senses that there's something he can turn to his side. And then he walks away from the fight. And he goes off, and along with the Mandalorians, they retreat deeper into the sewers because there is the cop reinforcements showing up. And, well, they probably could deal with all of them, but they don't really want to at the moment, I imagine, because they have bigger plans and don't want to take out the entire police force right before the Empire shows up. Because while the police is there, they might be able to temper the Empire. And then, of course, Two Boots has now been reawoken, and he tells the Officer Lawman that the Empire has been called, and he hopes that the officer can forgive him. And, well, we will see what happens, because the episode ends with a Star Destroyer flying in over top of the planet. And that is where the episode ends. And, well, the next episode, which minor spoilers for that, is called Inquisition or Inquisitors. I forget the exact name. So, guess what? There's no Inquisitors on that Star Destroyer, isn't there? As they're going to descend in. And I feel like the scene in the trailers where Marok just appears behind Officer Lawman with his hands on his shoulders, I imagine that might be our introduction to Marok, which will be a very scary introduction to him, as he just like appears behind the officer and pushes down on him as like, I'm in charge now. Why didn't you call me? You had already identified that Maul was here. Yeah. Now, of course, they might still end up doing this, but I do wish that they had actually implied that Maul's presence and the standard systems going out to find Maul were what dragged in the Empire, not Two Boots. Now, they definitely could still do that, because it hasn't been super long since they sent off the things, and the Empire is very quick to arrive. Yeah, hyperdrive time is very weird and wonky, so very well might not have been Two Boots. Two Boots just sent out a distress call. So I'm still hoping that the Empire showed up because they searched for Maul, not because Two Boots called. Well, I'm not going to be annoyed if it is because of Two Boots. Yeah. And that is it for episodes 3 and 4 of Maul Shadow Lord. I am loving this show so far, even if I do have a few minor complaints.